Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Pull-Up Tray Not podcast. I'm Samson Folk, and this is a Saturday pod, a lonesome pod for myself. I'm also got to tell you that this is an episode that is a presentation of TunyBet Online Sportsbook and Casino. And today I have film ready for everybody. We're going to be discussing if the Raptors have solved their clutch offense. The short answer, of course, anytime you present one of these things, is there is an answer, usually short or long. Actually, both. But the short answer is no. They haven't solved their clutch offense. However, I was very happy to see it succeed against the Phoenix Suns last night. Some numbers off the start to just wet everybody's whistle. The Raptors are the eighth best team in the clutch per NBA.com. They have a +8 net rating. It's much higher than their regular net rating, and it's pretty impressive that they're able to do this. Why? Because of the top 15 net rating teams in clutch, this is the top half of the league. None of them, except the Raptors, have an offensive rating below 110, and the Raptors is 104. How do they manage this, you might wonder? By having the number one clutch defense in all of the NBA at 96.3. This is, this is something else. This is a level of defense that we don't often see. Will says, hi, Samson. Hello, Will. ND says they tried something different on offense. They did and they didn't. We've seen this before. I have a bunch of film queued up, but the Raptors were able to go a different avenue with this because of the lineups that the Suns were playing. And so I was basically, before this, I was like, okay, how do I, make this compelling for listeners and viewers? Well, I'll go watch all of what Brandon Ingram does on offense in the clutch and see what we can find. And I think what I found more than anything is that, Brandon Ingram, he's shooting around 40% on his twos, which obviously isn't great, but it's not terrible in the clutch. He's one of the worst clutch shooters on high volume in the NBA per his field goal percentage. And he's also, I think, 3 of 14 on his late game triples, his clutch triples, which is really tanking his efficiency. If he was just sticking to the twos, maybe the field goal percentage is a little bit better, but the effective field goal percentage, it still wouldn't be very good. I think the Raptors en masse have a bit of Ingram paralysis. And going back to watch all this kind of stuff, I think that the Raptors are arrested by the fact that they are spending so much time just trying to funnel the ball to Ingram. And I think this is something I'm a lot more light on critiques of Darko than I think probably the fan base at large. I don't know what other analysts or people think of him. I only see what listeners and fans say to me or say on Twitter or something. I don't know if Will likes Darko or not. I'm not sure. I don't know if Blake likes Darko or not. I'm not sure. But the Raptors have very little dynamism in their clutch time offense, evidenced by the fact that, obviously, evidenced by the fact that they have among the top 15 clutch teams, basically the worst offense by a mile. The difference between number 14 and number 15 is like the difference between number 1 and number 14. It's just they have this insane chasm that they have to climb over. And I think it is because they funnel too much of the offense to Brandon Ingram. And that is not a favor to Brandon Ingram. I think that they're doing him a disservice by milking 11 seconds off the clock, trying to get him his option screen and be like, okay, now you get 7 seconds of clock to work with. You don't even get to progress into playmaking reads, really, because the ball has to go up. And if you do progress into playmaking reads, the paralysis of what guys want to do is they just want to get the ball back to you. And this is where, his usage percentage jumps up to 30% above it. And the two guys who have okay usage around him is Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett, because he'll take any shot at any time. If the ball finds him, he's going to try and score. I think I categorized him as a termite burrowing deep and destabilizing quietly. And I think that's what he does to offenses. It's why his usage is so important. And the ball just finds Barrett at times, and he's not afraid to take any shot. Quickly, I think the ball finds intentionally because they like him to be the guy where the ball ends up. He's shooting the 3-point shot pretty well in clutch time. And beyond that, the 2-pointers are really tough for him right now in clutch time. He gets run off the line. You'd like to see him maintain his high volume 3-point stuff. But the Raptors, in clutch time, they typically want it going one of two ways. Ingram doing whatever he wants, going to his own tendencies, what he likes, just get him the ball. This will be clear in the film when we go through it. And quickly getting the ball off the movement of the defense according to someone else's advantage. I think that it would behoove them to try a lot more. And we're not really going to be looking at the quickly stuff today, but the Ingram stuff today. Cosmo says, "Hey, Samson, haven't watched in a while." Hello, Cosmo. The Raptors are a team that they struggle in the clutch. And also exacerbating all this, I have a nice little thing here. They, across the first 19 games, the Raptors were actually one of the best shooting teams in the NBA. And if you'll remember, the first 19 games was where the Raptors had climbed up to second in half-court offensive rating. Their offense overall was maybe like sixth. It looked like a team that, was playing pretty simple basketball, but they were hitting open shots. And 45.7% on unguarded catch-and-shoot threes. These numbers are from Synergy across the first 19 games. That would have ranked them, I think, second or third in the league at the time, since they're at 36.5%. That is third worst in the NBA. The 36% they shot on pull-up threes, that would rank first in the NBA now, but obviously they weren't able to maintain that. They've shot less than 25% on pull-up threes since. This is astounding because this is the worst by some measure. And if you think that you can run an offense that is able to create points at the level of other NBA offenses when you're shooting 36.5% on unguarded catch and shoot threes and less than 25% on your pull-up threes, brother, I got a bridge to sell you because you can't. You basically can't. You know what? I'll spoil a little of my forthcoming piece. I'll give you guys some quotes that, talking to Darko about this stuff, I thought were illuminating to some degree. But the average pull up in the NBA is at 32% right now. The Raptors are underperforming that by 7%. That is a massive, massive discrepancy. The average unguarded catch and shoot three right now is 40%. That is also 4%. That is crazy. That is nuts. And you might say, like, well, if those are the averages, it means over the first however many games, the Raptors, they were overperforming the pull-up three average by 4%. And now they're underperforming by around 7%. And then otherwise, it's like, well, it was always going to come back around. I didn't think it would be this extreme because keep in mind, this is 19 games versus what, like 40 plus? That's a tough scene, man. That's a tough scene. We got to open this. I got to go find my quotes from Darko. So basically, I was asking Darko about what is up with the shooting. Do you think that you're not getting the right types of shots? Do you think that the defense is dictating where the ball goes, and that's why the open three-point shooting isn't as good? Like there's less prep time for shooters. What is going on with this? So Darko tells me, quote, "We do like to play with flow. I think that getting out in transition is our strength. It's something that we have to continue to develop. I think that's the direction of where the game is going. I think there's going to be less and less positional basketball. I think it's going to be about running and rhythm and getting to the spots and playing out of concepts, less play calling. That's why you need players to be able to create for each other. You need players who can create their own shots. For us, we're just in the middle of that and what that means for us. I think the transition threes are great looks for us. In the half court, we're not taking a lot of off the dribble shots. That's just not the personnel we have. We don't have a lot of high volume players that can do that. That's why we really need to count on the ball movement and ability to hit catch and shoot threes. Obviously, we'd like those numbers to be higher. We're going to continue working on that." This is, I think, a pretty sober analysis of where the Raptors are in terms of their shooting, because really there's you can't look at a team, Zero Cosmo says, "This bad shooting stretch is turning me into a shooting form critic." I mean, how do you not? How do you not look at this and, shake your fist at it and wonder about how does this get better? Because you either have to it's hard to look at this in the data, but look at the Raptors' star players and ask, Are you creating the wrong types of shots? And that's a really difficult type of analysis. Or do you just look at the Raptors and see that they drafted guys who are supposed to shoot? They drafted guys who are supposed to be okay, that they signed guys who are supposed to be okay, that their stars are supposed to be okay. And what you're getting just across the board is an underperformance of incredible levels. And then you say, like, is there juju? Is the ball not going in enough? How do we actually make sense of the fact that the Raptors are this poor of a shooting team at this point? And is what's stopping them from actually performing decent offense the fact that they just can't hit open shots at the requisite level? Like, is basketball that simple, or is there a more in-depth answer that makes sense of some of this? These are the tough questions, man. These are the really tough questions, and ones that, the coaching staff obviously has to make sense of. You could, like, for example, the Orlando Magic, they were in this similar quagmire. You know what I mean? And what do? They traded House and Home for Desmond Bain and said he's going to juice our three-point shooting. And while he has improved their three-point shooting and improved their offense overall, he doesn't fix it. It's not just something you can plug in. And this is why it's weird that the Raptors are seeing this team wide. ND says obviously Grady is underperforming his projection, but even Jacoby is really underperforming his projected shooting. I mean, both of them, obviously Grady far more than Jacoby, considering their expected performance coming out of the draft. But even beyond that, does Grady take enough shots to tank a team overall? No. Now, Grady, put him in a vacuum and say, like, is this guy shooting the way you want? Not even close, man. It's one of the most disappointing things. I think in terms of the Raptors team building, Grady's shooting just not being there is one of the most disappointing things en masse on the whole. There was, when you look at, I was tweeting about this the other day because someone was bemoaning the fact that the Raptors drafted Grady ahead of guys like Keontae, for example, and that he hasn't shot. And consensus at the time, I covered this draft and I know what people were saying about it, was that the two best shooters out of that draft were Jordan Hawkins and Grady Dick. And Jordan Hawkins was this really precise off-ball movement set action wizard for UConn and Dan Hurley. I mean, his off-ball motion greased the wheels for everything UConn wanted to do that year. And he was unbelievable. He shot, what, like 38% or almost 39% on massive, huge volume, sprinting into catch and just making these insane shots. He's shooting 29% this year. And he was a sophomore when he got drafted. And Grady was more of this like multi-purpose flow offensive player in Kansas who was taking more adventurous off the dribble shots and had a better driving game, but he also is shooting 30%. These guys were consensus the top two. Basically, Brandon Miller entered that conversation for some people, and Brandon Miller has been shooting the piss out of the basketball at the NBA level. Good for Brandon. Cosmo says Jordan Hawkins' college highlight tape was mesmerizing. It was incredible. But neither of those guys shoot. That's just a sidebar. The Raptors just don't shoot after all, or overall. And I don't know how they get themselves out of this, because you do have to be able to shoot, at least on some level, to compete in the NBA. And the Raptors, they had a lot of prove-em threes early on in the season. CMB, Scotty, even Scotty, we were covering it at the time. Like his pull-up three-point shooting was incredible at that time. And the thing was, at the start of the season, I was saying, like, why is everybody up Grady's butt right now? Because he's shooting 40% from three, and we're all acting like he's a terrible shooter right now. And then what happened? He showed us that he actually could go through a terrible stretch. That 40%, we shouldn't have been disappointed with it, because now he's at 30, brother. And the Raptors, I mean, they were a great shooting team. RJ shooting like 38, 39% was nice. They were stomaching Quickly shooting like 32, 33. Now, Quickly has come back around, but again, one shooter does not make a team, especially since Quickly can't get his volume up to where probably, the coaching staff and fans want it to be. All this to say, the Raptors, they can't shoot a lick, man. They can't shoot a lick. I don't know how they solve it, because most of the people I talk to in the league, their expectation, or what they think about how guys develop, is, especially shooting, is that there is no there is no preordained shooter coming out of the draft, not necessarily. And Hawkins and Grady are a great example because they're two very different styles of shooter, and neither has done it. It requires a lot of work to become a shooter at the NBA level. And this is the quiet undercurrent of the Raptors of the old guard. Those guys were freaks in the gym, man. They put a lot of work in, and those guys added. And you can even see some of the guys who have left the team continue to add and evolve after leaving. And some guys just do not add or evolve at the same level. And people within the NBA, typically what they say is, they're not working hard enough. This isn't me saying that, like, hey, the Raptors aren't working hard enough, just that they haven't had something like that manifest just yet. And that's disappointing. That's disappointing. You could get into the hemming and hawing and saying, like, well, CMB's dealing with a thumb, which he is. That's why he's not playing. You could say, like, okay, Scotty Barnes has been dealing with hand stuff for like 4 years. Anytime I've critiqued Scotty's shooting, someone comes and tells me, like, his hand is in a spot. And it's like, okay, for 3 years, his hand is in a spot. I don't know. But he grabs at his hand. It seems like it bothers him a lot. And he plays a physical style of game. And there's also the fact that, like, the Raptors, they play incredibly big-time winning basketball when Scotty plays at the 5. They mow through teams when Scotty's at the 5. You want to talk about playing the Suns? They mow through teams when Scotty's playing at the 5. But can he handle the physicality over the course of 82? Or even, 25? However many, 28 in the playoffs? I don't know. Is that feasible? Will every team's other front court allow for that? I doubt it. There's just things to figure out with this team. There is things to figure out with this team. Oh, by the way, Raps Fan 22 has this. It says, the issue with that cross screen to get an Ingram mismatch, it almost seems like once that option is being defended well, they use so much time forcing a pass. I'm glad they switched it up. This I will address in the film. It's a good point, but the thing is, it's it's actually not just a cross screen. We'll see it in the film, but like that is almost always an option screen, and it's actually very rare that the Raptors get the mismatch they're looking for. They're actually more likely to get the mismatch if Ingram comes up top and gets a big man on him. But that is, the Raptors play way too slow in the clutch, and we'll look at some of that on tape. ND says, this feels out of place, but there's been a quiet movement of people criticizing Scotty's trainer. It's getting ridiculous. I think people just want to, criticize. It's like, it's the same reason why it's hard to criticize NBA players without, finding yourself in cliches. And obviously, this is my perception. But I personally think that that fandom in the NBA is getting closer and closer to standom, and that means that people are more inclined to critique what happens around players rather than players. And then there you go, Bob's your uncle. Suddenly trainers are being brought into it. Like, what are the chances that in 2004 you know who a guy's trainer is and you're critiquing them, when it's like, maybe it's maybe it's just the player. Like, that's the thing. And this goes back to all of the, like, where do criticisms go and where do they come from? I have a couple criticisms for Darko in this clutch stuff, in how he organizes things, but it's on the players most of the time. Who's out there playing basketball? Okay? Just, I'm so happy to leave it there. And the players, it's not bad to criticize a player and be like, why can't he do this? It doesn't make you an asshole. Now, if you say something like uncouth and like way out of place about a player, then yes, wear that. You're being a jackass. Say something that you have to apologize for it. But I think it's a lot more comfortable to critique a coach, because then you get to preserve the idea that the team is right. And then there's just one guy, the coach, swap him out for the quote unquote good, better, awesome coach. And then the team is really great because that coach makes all the players great. It's a comforting idea. How often do you see it around the league that just isn't the truth, right? How often is it that players are actually what dictate what makes games go, right? Um, Will Clausen says information is overly available now, so people can make more creative theories about a player's internal struggles. This, Will, is perfect. There's so much information. We are inundated with it to the nth degree that basically you can create a theory about whatever you want at this point, right? Theories, that is, I mean, enjoy. You can go to town on theories. Okay. By the way, I'm just going to take an opportunity. My apologies to everybody. Eddie SZ says, or Eddie's says, Pistons are a hard team. I hope they win. I will just use this to say that this segment is a presentation of TunyBet Online Sportsbook and Casino. Thousands of slot games, live casino at your fingertips, and a sportsbook made for Ontario. Get your game on with TunyBet. TunyBet is licensed and regulated by the AGCO and iGaming Ontario, 19 plus Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Okay, so the Raptors are about to play the Detroit Pistons, and TunyBet has the Pistons, the spread at minus 2.5, the Raptors plus 2.5. That's a pretty close game. That's a close game. I don't know where it's going to end up, but I do. That's a lot closer than the Raptors have been playing the hard teams, for however long. Okay, can we do some clutch film? Oh, wait, this is the wrong one. There we go. Where's this? Go on stage. There we go. Now we got video on stage. Sorry for audio listeners. My apologies, but we're going to it. So the Raptors, I mean, Brandon Ingram hit 3 clutch time shots down the stretch. He's now at 36% on the season, and he was below 34% coming into this game. So basically what the Raptors doing, it's what Raps fan 222 brought up earlier about the lethargic job that the Raptors are doing getting into actions. With the bring a ball handler Ingram stuff, the Raptors were much faster at getting the ball into where it needed to be. They didn't labor everything with Ingram going off ball and then trying to meet the ball and then seeing where they were. They were just like, okay, we'll give it to Ingram and we'll go from there. Now, I will say part of the reason for this is that the Suns didn't have good defenders to bother Ingram's dribble. Nobody out there, like if Brooks is out there, maybe the Raptors aren't able to navigate it this way, but they could against this Suns team. The Suns are also playing small, which is important, and we'll address this in the film a little bit later. But playing small and not having the requisite guys to badger Ingram's dribble, which is badgerable, you can get after it, means that they could use him as a bring-up ball handler. They can very quickly go to Scotty, and they can create switches, and they can create looks for Ingram, and then they flatten out more or less, right? It's not 4 guys on the baseline, but it is giving Ingram room to work and wiggle. And are these great looks? Not necessarily, but they are good enough. And I think the Raptors have been rolling the dice on Ingram's mid-range jumper for so long that they've been waiting for a little bit of that positive regression to come around because Ingram has had so many just slip in and out of the basket. And you can see, again, driving Royce O'Neal into it. That's who Ingram wants to get. That's who the Raptors go after. So everyone gets close. You're going to try and give Ingram room. This is the most important part, by the way. SP007 says there are rebounders in place. I guess that's probably, like you'll see in the alignment, that's not a new thing. The Raptors, every team is thinking about rebounding late. So he has room to wiggle and work. And this right here is the most important part. This is why the Raptors opted to go 4 flat, is because Ingram, if he beats his guy, the lowest man is not big. The Raptors do not play this way because a big man will be sitting in the paint, and Ingram has not had a ton of success navigating this. For example, the Raptors are in basically the exact same alignment against the Bulls, but Jalen Smith is there, who's a lot bigger than anyone that the Suns had late, right? So they bring him out, and Ingram, again, a guy who gets bothered by smaller players attacking his dribble. A lot of what the Raptors do in these situations is rather than have Ingram try and attack a guard from the top, they try and have Ingram attack guards on the baseline through option screens so that he doesn't have to worry about getting his dribble poked. So this is really important, the differences in who's out there. And what they want to do is they want to have Ingram attack a big on the outside. So they have Colin Murray-Boyles push and roll, and then Ingram attacks Jalen Smith. This gives him an advantage. This gives him somebody to beat. But against the Suns, they don't have to worry about like tugging and pulling a big man anywhere. And you can go back to Ingram and let him work and wiggle his way down low, where there's nobody nearly dangerous enough to make him worry about, can I finish over the top, right? It's just like a great job by Ingram, but the personnel out there is really what allows for this. And when the personnel for the other team includes a big, whether it's Gobert, whether it's Porzingis, whether it's whomever, the Raptors like to get Ingram in a position where he can attack the big man from the top. If it's a guard he's trying to attack, the Raptors typically want to run through an option screen or something like that, right? And so Ingram getting to spots, hitting shots, it's great work. Now this game, you can see, this is kind of like the imperfectness of the Raptors' clutch offense again, is that you can go back to, the Raptors' terrible shooting, and, I've done that, that big video about how the Raptors are underperforming so much in terms of, how they shoot when Brandon passes them the ball. But the Raptors put themselves in feast or famine too often according to what Ingram is doing. And the reason why their clutch offense has been so bad this year is that, so much of it has gone to Ingram, and Ingram's job is so hard, and he's not like just crushing it. He's actually been like, in terms of other high volume clutch guys, really inefficient. And it's just stuff like this is like Ingram thinks, I'm the option screener. And this is like Ingram. Oh, wait, one sec. Okay. So Ingram could have taken RJ. Oh God, here we go. Ingram could have taken RJ's screen and come and use I guess it's a flex screen really for a pinch post action, but he chooses instead that he's going to come off the top of Pirtle's screen. The Hornets are playing kind of small, and this should be a pass to a rolling Pirtle, because who's in the dunker spot? Sexton. This is meaningful. This is a read that's baked into the Raptors offense, because they use that's why they like the option screen, is because it sets the alignment of the defense in a position where the big has to step up and the smallest guy on the court, maybe, or the second smallest, is guarding the rim. Ingram just dribbles it out, turns it into a straight isolation. And again, this is a really tough shot. The Raptors, they've been rolling the dice on like, okay, are we looking for Ingram? Are we looking for something else? And the answer is almost always the former. And I'm not saying this is Ingram's fault. Like, he could have made that passing read, yes, but Ingram is being tasked with, I think, a really difficult thing. And I do think it's largely because the Raptors, I don't know if it's I wouldn't use the term scared, but they just seem hesitant to take advantage of other reads baked into these set actions. And everyone seems to be waiting around just to see, like, what will happen with Ingram, and then we'll let Ingram decide. So this is the cross screen, the flex screen. And, like, even they design stuff to happen off ball all the time, but the Raptors basically never get to these other reads. They're actually, like, with 15 seconds on the shot clock, this is something that the Raptors, they actually ran this one quickly, expeditiously, but Ingram just, like, he just takes a shot really early. And the Raptors like this one too. Scotty is the option screener from the big man position. Jacoby is the flex screener. He puts it on Draymond Green. And I don't like these plays very much because Brandon is very rarely ever looking, and quite frankly, the off-ball players are very rarely ever looking to score as off-ball players. It's like, okay, let's just flatten out. Let's just do whatever. Like, let's see what happens. And Brandon makes this shot. It's a very difficult shot, but he makes it. He's very comfortable there. But the ideal of your offense, I think, should be a lot more than, can we get this shot for Brandon, right? Even this one is like, it's not late game, but it's still clutch time. This is an Iverson screen. The Raptors, they use it a lot. You're running Con around. And the Raptors, what they do well here is finally they position Emmanuel Quickley as the one-away guy, right? and Scotty goes down and punches down to the lowest spot on the court. Is there a slip there? Bridges guards it. Okay, so what Quickly's going to do is Quickly should start forming up, right? Yes. This is the shot you want. You want Brandon to find Quickly because LaMelo is coming over. But what Brandon does is he drives to a corner where Scotty Barnes has basically he doesn't have a ton of gravity. You're just driving into a double, which he gathers over into like this pull-up. That's really tough shot. When in reality, like the play design worked really well. You shifted the defense where you wanted to. Ingram should be taking this ball middle. Take this ball middle and force LaMelo to do something rather than driving towards a corner where Scotty is, where Bridges' decision is really, really good. If you're just playing the numbers like Brandon Ingram, running a play and saying, okay, what can I get? If I manipulate the defense, where does the ball go? The truly high-level offensive engines, they make these types of reads is like, well, I should drive and try and draw Quickly's defender. You know what I mean? Or if they try and bring the big man up because they don't want to give up Quickly, then there's a dump down to Jakob. But instead, he chooses the option where it's either a pass to Scotty in the corner or a contested 15-foot fader. He chose wrong there. And I think it's up to the Raptors, the coaching staff, the players, to make it so that Brandon doesn't have to have like this incredible amount of bandwidth to run around screens, survey the court perfectly, and really like dissect late. It's not like Brandon is uber talented, but he's not truly a high level, I dissect teams, I make them pay player. And he's not paid like that. He's not expected to be that type of guy. So I think that the Raptors just have to do a much better job of, I think emboldening players across the whole roster to make plays. But instead, and this one you can understand a little bit, there's 10 seconds left and they just want to get the ball to Ingram. But like no one looks anywhere else in these plays. No one looks anywhere else. Nobody is trying to do anything else. There's no threat elsewhere. They're just like bunching up, huddling up, and like, okay, how do we get the ball to Brandon? Even this one, it takes forever to get him the ball, right? If we look at this, I mean, he misses a shot, of course. It's an incredibly difficult shot. Brandon is a very talented offensive playmaker, but they start running this, like, play-ins there. There's 14 seconds on the shot clock. 14 seconds. They lollygag through this whole play. Quickly doesn't want the ball there. Scotty doesn't want the ball coming across the screen. Jacoby doesn't want to do anything with it. They're setting up their option screen. It took them 6 seconds to even start setting up the option screen. 6 seconds, okay? And then Ingram has to decide and sidle through everything and like, okay, and the Hornets fight tooth and nail, and he catches with 4 seconds. It took them 10 seconds to develop this. It's a terrible, terrible possession because it takes them 10 seconds to develop it. Guess what? You overload and you don't pay the price because when it's late clock and you overload, I mean, you're not putting anybody in a position to succeed. And this is where, the Raptors, even though they're not creating great shots, at least they're giving Brandon more clock to work with in terms of what happened last night. And yeah, so there's so much pressure on Brandon to make these perfect decisions. And even this one too is like the progression of things. And this gets into Brandon he's so comfortable with his mid-range shot that he's not even sometimes looking to progress the play further than where he can get it, right? Like this, if you drive it left, you have a numbers game, right? You have a very easy numbers game because Scotty has Shea pinned. Now, you could make the case that he should be making that check down to Scotty, but Chet might creep in. Shea might be able to swim move. It's a dangerous pass. You don't have to go there. But if you do, then Scotty can make the pass to Jacoby. But if you drive Wiggins left, you do allow Scotty to then fully establish that inside position for a pocket pass to your right, or you're going to give Jacoby what I presume would be a wide open three. Now, again, you have to get into the shooting stuff. Jacoby is shooting, I think, 17% from three in clutch time. It is what it is, but you have to play the right way. But instead, he drives into Dort and the ball goes back to Shed. And is he doing this because he wants to progress the play, or does he want to post Wiggins at the free throw line? I don't know. But these types of shots, we can probably do better, right? We could probably do better than that. And you can progress plays so that everybody's in stronger positions. And the Raptors, I think they take too long, man. They really do. And like even this is what is Quickly meant to do here, right? Like, is Quickly supposed to be dangerous? Is he looking to attack? Ingram, like, there's a possibility where Quickly could have attacked downhill here, but Ingram is crowding over here, like, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. Quickly has nowhere to go. There's two guys stacked in the corner, and Ingram brought his guy over so that there's no driving lane here, zero driving lane. And he just says, like, give me the ball with 5 seconds left. 5. They're not giving themselves a chance at anything else. They're like, okay, this is what has to happen. And again, these are just like missed shots, man. This one too, taking forever and a day against the Lakers. How many seconds come off the clock? It's like 14, 15. He gets the shot. It takes 6 seconds again, 7 seconds again. And like, here's the thing, man. Nothing is going on here. And if you're going to take so long, again, watch. Now, is Ingram the greatest offensive player of all time? I don't no, but he's a very talented offensive player. Yes. Do the Raptors use him as a guy to attack bigs all the time? Yes. Okay, so one, why are you letting Ayton make you pick up your dribble, right? And also the clock awareness. 3, 4 seconds left. Picking up your dribble here wouldn't be a death sentence if you had done a better job of working this ball earlier in the clock. You could get to a secondary action. But instead, this is the shot we get. This was a really big game. One that the Raptors should have won against the Lakers. But their late game stuff was just, it was no good. Even here, this progression from Sandro, this is like the thing about the correct decision making and the paralysis of like, should Brandon have the ball? Should Brandon have the ball? Quickly gets the ball. And Rui plays to Shed way more than he should. And you could say like, Quickly gets run off the line by LeBron. The ball goes back out to Brandon. Is that a great shot? Is that a great look? I don't know. It's an offensive foul after. But it's like, Quickly probably should be the one not just moving the ball on, but like he should be attacking. He should be looking for his own shot. He should be trying to make a bigger play because this is not like an incredible look. It just isn't. You have the center closing out. You have hardly any time on the shot clock. You have 2 seconds, right? So the center is closing out this huge, massive contest, but you can't drive the closeout because why? Because there is hardly any time on the shot clock. The Raptors are just like in a very, very difficult position when they spend so much time absorbing the clock. This too is like, this is a play that the Raptors ran, and this isn't like truly end of game clutch time, but it's clutch time where this ball, no matter what, Scotty has Austin Reeves, okay? What's happening? They can't get the ball in because Ayton is switched out on Shed. He doesn't have the length to pass around the center. So you're supposed to shift the floor. Brandon's supposed to flash middle, and then Brandon is supposed to enter this ball. Look at the position that Reeves takes. You might say that Scotty's covered. He isn't in the slightest. There is a passing window, a circumference of 18 feet that you can throw this ball into where Scotty is going to get it. And like, does that mean that somebody's cheating over like Rui off of Jamison Battle, an incredible three-point shooter? Yes. But you have to make the defense do something rather than just like that. The Raptors have to be able to progress through more reads than just Brandon. And again, I'm not blaming Brandon here. Brandon is very talented. He deserves more help structurally, and he deserves a team that is going to attack their own mismatches and a team that is going to look for what they can get to instead of just letting plays progress for 7, 8 seconds to the point where it's like, okay, now we're just going to shovel you the ball. Can you do something with it? It's not going to cut it, right? Even this is like, you could make the case. I don't know if this is preordained by the coaching staff, but it's like 15 seconds on the shot clock. The Raptors, they form into their little alignment. You just hold. Okay? If you hold this long, and I understand there's maybe some gamesmanship about how much time on the clock, I get it, but you're never going to get to that secondary read when you take the shot with 3 seconds on the clock. Like, never. You're just never going to get to this stuff. The Raptors play agonizingly slow in the clutch. And they funnel too much of the offense towards Brandon Ingram, who is extremely talented and has done an okay job of hitting really tough shots. But they need to get easier shots. There's no excuse. None. There's no excuse. The Raptors, again, their offensive rating in the clutch, they rank 24th. Now, keep in mind, they rank 24th despite having the best defense. Do you guys know what that means? They get runouts to bolster their offense. They get transition looks in clutch time. And they still rank near the bottom 5. They have the best defense in clutch time, which means they so rarely have to take the ball out of their own basket. They get to run and push, and they still play slow. They have opportunities to advance the ball. They have opportunities to play with numbers. They have opportunities to do all this kind of stuff, and they still play slow, and they still don't score. It's just like they have to be faster. Their pace in the clutch is the slowest in the NBA. Tough, man. And like, this is the thing. They can organize a little bit better, but there's one thing that they really have to. It's that shooting, man. And this shooting is partially responsible for why so much of it just filters directly towards Brandon, honestly. And because when you look at the team, when you look at, the Raptors, this is a team that they just don't make enough shots. SP007 says, it's good they play slow, prepare for the slow down playoffs. I mean, the Pacers took the Thunder to Game 7, and the Pacers beat every team by actually not slowing down. And in fact, that quote I read from, Darko, where he said, like, the future of basketball is less play calling and playing faster. The coach doesn't want this necessarily. He wants a team that he can trust to play fast, where the ball can spray out to many different places. And playing slow, forcing the other team to play slow is great. Forcing yourself to play slow for no reason is bad. You should play fast. You should play fast. You should get numbers. You should get opportunities. You should get multiple looks on a number of different possessions. You should have a bunch of different variations of what player can do what baked into these offensive sets if you're running sets. And you should have good enough players that if they run out and if they play with numbers, you can trust them not only to drive the rim, but to space properly, to organize. And that's the Raptors just, they aren't good enough at that. And this is where, like, I don't know how to lay it at Darko's feet. Like, I don't know if Darko just goes into practice and says, here are the basics of what we're doing in, transition. Like, you guys need to fill, you guys need to rim run, you guys need to do whatever. I don't know. But when we're looking at the Raptors, ranked 29th in scoring efficiency after turnovers, SP007 says, we know we can run. Let's see what happens when it does slow down. No, they can't run. They're terrible at running. They're one of the worst in the NBA running. They run a lot. They're terrible at scoring while running. This is something that they deeply need to improve. This is one of the easiest ways for this offense to be much better, is for them not to be terrible in transition. They play it all the time, but they need to be better. And this is where, do they not have enough three-point shooters to space the floor to create open driving lanes? Do they not have enough drivers to make teams with one guy back really scared, to overcommit to drivers? Because what happens a lot of the times is it seems like the Raptors drivers are a little bit hesitant to just take it all the way. and the guy plays the middle, and then they end up turning the ball over or just getting up like this contested layup in transition or something like that. The Raptors just, and at that point, do you say, has this team been built that, did you build a team that can't score in transition? Are they that bereft of driving talent or shooting talent? In that case, it's just like lay it all at the feet of Masai and Bobby. But if you actually believe that there's improvement here, then there has to be improvement. But this Raptors team, not only do they have to be better playing slow, which they shouldn't play that slow, but they have to be better playing fast. And they play fast a lot. And I, they, it's the speed paradox that Darko talked about however long ago, right? He said, like, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said, like, basically your brain operates at full capacity or like really high capacity at 85% of your own speed. And so if you're running at 100% speed, your brain basically can't work. And that's, so you're trying to find your perfect speed of where your brain reads things accordingly in time, and you're able to move your body at a speed that, you know, functions as being threatening to other people on the court. And that's what it is. ND says your best transition player has to grab rebounds too, so sometimes he can't be a part of the transition more. Yeah, this is exactly it. This is something Trey and I covered a bunch. It was one of the first switches that the Raptors made to address their shortcomings on the defensive glass, is that Scottie started out this season as one of the highest volume transition players. He was extremely efficient because he was running out a bunch. And when we talked about not having the threat of driving the ball all the way to the rim, Scottie is that guy, but they needed him on the defensive glass, so other guys are running out more, and then you see the transition efficiency, and then Scottie becomes a trailer in transition, which is not obviously his best role either. And there you go. Bob's your uncle, Becky's your aunt. Huge thing. Gilly Mary Moody says, Samson, Raps will get there. I hope so. I like that optimism. Although, unfortunately, Gilly, my job is, whether it's liked or not, I got to give analysis of what I'm seeing, which takes us to this next question, which is Cosmo asking, Samson, not being condescending or sarcastic, just a genuine question. Why do you like Darko as a coach? I like Darko as a coach because I think he has organized an offense that while it gets too slow, I think that he is significantly limited by his personnel. I do. Do you know how hard it is? Do you know how hard it is to design an NBA offense where you have no elite drivers on the team and basically no shooting talent? That is really, really difficult. And also keep in mind that this is a team where the Raptors' expectation defensively has been like, okay, can these guys guard? That he has gotten them. The Raptors max out effort plays. That means that their coach has gotten them into effort. That's a huge part of coaching because coaches just don't manifest talent for players. And again, the development stuff about Darko is like, Darko isn't a development coach anymore. He was. He doesn't work with Grady the way that he worked with Desmond Bane. He doesn't have time because he's too busy being a head coach. I asked Darko about this because I knew people were interested. I said, like, where are you on the development side of things? What is that role for you now? And he told me that, like, that's not something he does anymore, and he trusts his staff with it. Now, do you want to lay it at the feet of, like, you picked the wrong staff? I don't know. But that's where it was. You know, that's where it is. And also, the Raptors, they get a lot of the right shots too. They take their shot location, expected field goal percentage is really high. Again, the Raptors, I believe I heard on the broadcast, I've not looked at it myself, but it was that the Raptors take some of the most, like, the highest volume of wide open threes in the NBA. So you're creating wide open threes, but they just don't go in. What do you make of that, right? I guess, like, what do you make of that? The Raptors take a lot of catch and shoot threes. 80th percent of time that they take catch and shoot threes, I think, right? I'm looking at Synergy right now. 80th percentile. They are terrible. 35% on catch and shoot threes across the season. It's just not going to cut it, man. It just never will. it just, if you're taking wide open threes, how do you look at and say like, well, the coach, you need to design wide open threes for this player instead of this player. And then you look and Emmanuel quickly is at the top of the NBA in wide open threes taken per game. So, I mean, like Grady, I'm perfectly fine just saying like Grady, make more shots. Boo-hoo, man. Make more shots, right? Sandro, he gets a lot of pick and pop looks. He plays in flow. He gets a lot. He's made a decent amount of them. But there's many players on the team. Scotty, 29, 30% from three, make more. No NBA player should shoot 29, 30% from three. None. You should make more than that. So make more. That is what it is. There's like, I am so comfortable saying that yes, Darko should try and get these guys to play faster and should put these guys in as strong a positions as possible. Anytime I ask a coach one of these types of questions, like part of their answer is like, that's the job, is to put these guys in a position to succeed. But it's this sometimes players have to do it. In fact, most times players have to do it. Like Tyronn Lue, everyone thought like, oh, this guy's just getting carried. But then it turned out like, oh, maybe he wasn't getting carried. And there's coaches who people thought were like tactical masterminds who went on and were, ripped from their player. And suddenly it wasn't that interesting anymore. You know what I mean? It's just like the players have to do it more than anything. And Darko, if Darko were to get fired or something, I'm not going to shed tears, but I would still say like, yeah, I think he's a good coach. It would be like, I think Nick Nurse with the Raptors was a good coach. Tactically, he still tries a lot of really interesting stuff. He maximizes players in a really good way. He does do that. The Raptors found their most optimal stuff under Nick Nurse quite often. Like, think about the limitation of that roster, and they had the 14th ranked offense. What happened with Nick Nurse, though, is like the soft skill side is that the players didn't like him. Some hated him. And there were like years-long beefs that were still there that didn't get mended, right? So still, it's tough to be a coach. And right now, Darko, some of the softer stuff is his strength. The players love him. They play very hard for him. He gets behind every player. He puts them in strong positions. Like what am I gonna say, right? Like let's go to Grady, for example. We'll pull up the synergy stuff, because Grady gets a quick hook from Darko, because Grady blows some defensive coverages, but also like unguarded catch and shoot threes. He's shooting 37%. 37%. It should be way higher. Unguarded catch and shoot threes, he's shooting 20%. Okay? But he used to be a guy who the offense gave him a lot of guarded looks. And he shot like above average there. And he was getting not that many unguarded looks. And he was like dynamite. He was like a 46% shooter on open threes. And that's just not there. So it's like, okay, so you create open threes for him. He's just not hitting it. What else can happen? Sometimes guys just got to hit shots. I know Jack Armstrong says this on the broadcast sometimes. But it's true. It's totally, totally true. Okay, we have a new, if anybody's been watching the broadcasts, Lotto Max is all over the Raptors stuff. It's now on here as well. This segment is a presentation of Lotto Max, calling all Raptors fans. Lotto Max and the Raptors have officially launched their Max Contract Fan Contest, where one winner will be given the chance to call the shots and personalize their own prize pack worth $50,000 Canadian. What prizes can you choose from? How about 2026, 2027 season tickets or courtside tickets to 5 games next season, or a chance to attend all home playoff games this year? Visit the Raptors app to learn more and enter today, and don't forget to opt into their emails to hear about future chances to win. No purchase necessary. 18 plus Ontario only. Ends March 29th, 2026. Grand prize winner to select one prize from each of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Visit the Toronto Raptors app for full contest rules, prize details, and how to enter. Okay, everybody. What's IQ unguarded? Yeah, I know, Cosmo. Breaking my heart. What's IQ's unguarded? Actually, I'll have to go look at that. Emmanuel quickly unguarded threes. Unguarded catch and shoot, by the way. Unguarded catch and shoot threes. He's shooting nearly 44%. Guarded, 39%. It's pretty good. Synergy has him at shooting 29% on pull-up threes this year. There's probably a discrepancy between that and NBA.com. Sometimes there is, but I don't know what to make of that. I guess it's just a Synergy versus Second Spectrum. Second Spectrum has them as they have all their cameras that log everything, whereas Synergy is it's just guys and girls looking and stepping in. ND says, swear he misses so many wide open ones. I mean, earlier in the year, that really was true. But I mean, he's been shooting the lick out of it for some time. Donkey 16 says that with catch and shoot, he misses a lot of wide open pull-ups in transition. They have early jumpers on here too. Early jumpers, it says he's 0 for 4. I'm going to watch this quick, actually. What is an early jumper? What is Synergy categorizing this as? Because I don't... Yeah, it was like... It's just a shot within the first, 4 seconds of covering half court? But I don't think it's in transition. I think Synergy is just calling an early jumper within, immediately right away. We can actually go look at Emmanuel's transition three-point shooting, too. Emmanuel is shooting 34% on transition threes. That's less than ideal for sure. He's shooting 38% on pick and roll ball handler threes, though, which is banging. The thing here, and something that when you look at Emmanuel and RJ are the two heavy minute players who they have this way bigger correlation with better half court scoring than any of the other high minute players on the Raptors roster. The other guy's Jameson Battle. But handoffs, IQ in terms of scoring, 92nd percentile. Off screen, 92nd percentile. Cuts, 81st percentile. Pick and roll man. So when he's the screener, 97th percentile. Pick and roll ball handler, 83rd percentile. IQ over the middle to now part of the season has slowly been juicing the stats. He is, if you look at his season stats, he's actually come a very long way from that spot where he was. And it's why I was right. I wrote that piece before they restarted or after they resumed after the All-Star break, where I was like, yeah, they just need to give the ball more to Emmanuel quickly, because he's underperformed some of these things that he statistically usually does very well in, and you just need to put the fries in the bag, bro. Put the pull-up three in the bag. Let us work a little. And he has been doing it lately. Will says IQ has been juicing indeed. Watch it. Enough of that. No, none of that. Call five. And then also we'll pull up RJ Barrett's, because I still think RJ's are typically pretty great. If I remember correctly, RJ play types, handoffs, 91st percentile. As a cutter, 88th percentile. Post-ups, 89th percentile. Pick and roll ball handler is not that high as a scorer, but it's he's in the top quarter of the league when you include passes. RJ's pick and roll craft has really ticked up once Jakob was back. He loves the little burrow heading down the lane. You know what I mean? And it is a little disappointing that we're not getting the same kind of stuff from Scotty and Brandon, but it's pretty clear, in terms of, I can't remember who tweeted it. Andy, it might have been you. I can't remember. It's in terms of guys who have really, really low free throw rate and really, really low 3-point rate among high volume players, Scotty and Brandon are both there. They're both there. These guys they just are spending a little bit too much time in the middle. And I don't know if this is preordained by the lack of, skill sets elsewhere on the roster, but they are spending too much time in the middle. And I don't know how the Raptors can orchestrate offense so that these guys spend less time there. because one, Scotty's shooting 30% from three. So it's harder to ask him like, yeah, just jack up the volume. That's not my dog is crying. Yeah, he's whining. You want to come over here, Gar? Here he is. He's whining around because I got to take him out after this this podcast is up. But yeah, the Raptors, they need to put their best players in a little bit better, stronger position, and we'll see what happens. But they need to maximize their guys a little bit more. But yeah, okay, off you go. In terms of what breed, Garland is, he's not a border collie, I don't think. Actually, we don't really know. Nobody knows, but he's at least an Australian Shepherd and at least a cattle dog of some. But he's a rescue, so I have to do like a DNA thing if I want to figure out anything else. Anyway, they need to put their guys in stronger positions, but it is a little opaque right now how they maximize Scotty. And then also, like, I don't know, again, players. We have a comment here that says, your dog is named after the Clippers starting point guard. I didn't name him. He came with the name. But I did bring it up that it is kind of funny that, like, I'm such a big fan of Darius Garland. And, you know, Garland's name is Garland. I thought it was funny. But not named after Darius Garland, I promise. Will Smith says, having Walter Grady going nuts in the game would be nice. Walter played great last night. Walter was really, really fantastic last night. He deserves tons of credit. Tons, heaps. Because part of why late Jalen Green and Devin Booker were so tired is that we're looking at a guy. Those guys took a lot of pressure all game, and while they did score pretty well against those guys, they definitely they were tired by the end of it. Also, Gilly says Scotty was really sick last night. Guy rocks. I mean, the thing is, and I know I get this critique all the time. Overall, I have a lot of critiques of Scotty's offensive game, but Scotty's game overall, I find it so hard to lay a lot of the problems at his feet because he's such an impactful player, and it's really hard for that guy to lose minutes. And I believe in it. And I believe Scotty will be a better offensive player in the future. And I'm really curious to see how long he's able to maintain Defensive Player of the Year level defense. Of course, you can't win it while Wemby is there. You never will. But it's that's what we're looking at. That's what I've been asking a lot of coaches about. You know, I talked to Jason Kidd about this because Jason Kidd obviously coached Giannis, and Jason Kidd is now coaching Cooper Flagg. Giannis, it doesn't happen very often that someone's MVP and Defensive Player of the Year at the same time. Scotty, I don't think will ever be both those things at the same time, but he is trying to find a healthy mix of offense and defense, which most players, in pursuit of getting paid, they choose offense instead of defense. I hope that Scotty never has to choose. I hope that he's always on a team that gets the most out of both sides. But it is hard to be a really strong offensive presence when you are from the jump playing deny defense on Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson. And you're also asked to be the linchpin defensively of a small ball lineup where you're the 5-man to close out games. It's a lot. I mean, Pascal Siakam used to be this incredible defender. And then by the end of carrying the Raptors, his defense fell quite a bit. And then once he wasn't carrying offense anymore, he went to Indiana, and he was an incredible defender again. It's tough to manage both sides. And Scotty's doing a pretty damn good job so far, but there's just skill-wise, he has a long way to go offensively. I wonder where it ends up. But yeah, SP007 says Scotty's offensive numbers may seem similar to that start of the year 3 with OG leading the defense, but that should speak volumes. There's growth there, but I don't think people notice it. I don't know. We've talked about it on the podcast, so podcast listeners probably should. And I think people probably do notice it. But Scotty, a lot less of his offense comes in transition now. A lot less comes via offensive rebounds. A lot less comes via that kind of stuff, which you still want some. It's easy. It's great to get easy baskets. But man, his creation, like we'll bring it up on Synergy. Scotty's isolation, I think, has been actually really strong this year, and it is because he has that dependable bailout shot in the mid range that he's like very comfortable going to. That doesn't get him in trouble, and so in terms of like isolation scoring, Scotty is 79th percentile. When you go isolation plus passing, 75th percentile, and like that's great. It's what I wrote when I did that big piece in his rookie year. I said that, Scotty Barnes is going to be like an incredibly unique star, that he was going to be like a really high level defender who garbage mans around and is able to get isolation buckets from time to time. And that, we'll see where it grows from there. But Scotty has developed basically outside of the three-point shot, which I thought would be closer to 34, 36%. I'm pretty disappointed about it, but it's just not there. Scotty's developed largely into the player that I thought he would at this point now. And there's still upside from here. But, I mean, it's hard to get around the shooting concerns right now. And there's a reason why guys like Brandon see more help in the lane, and there's a reason why the Raptors are right now looking for, like, why is Scotty in the corner? Because IQ has been playing fantastic, efficient basketball. Because RJ, once Jakob Poeltl came back, started scoring a lot more efficiently. And because Brandon is going to get the ball all the time, how do you make sure that Scotty's guy isn't the one helping in the lane, that he's in the corner, and that Scotty can corner crash and work the dunker spot? You put him in the corner. I'm not saying that's the ultimate answer. I'm not saying I want Scotty to be, hey, corner guy, corner guy. I'm just saying, like, that's the reasoning for why he's there. That's the reason for why he's there. They still need to be more creative in how they use him, though, because his ability to process the floor, make reads, be the in-between on plays, and be a playmaker is pretty strong. He reads the floor exceptionally well. And it's just something they have to be mindful of. It's tough to build a team. By the way, everybody, stressful basketball. It can be stressful, but your choice of beer, it doesn't have to be. Coors Light delivers mountain cold refreshment. When the mountains turn blue, the beer is as cold and refreshing as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold certified for a smoother finish. Beer. Celebrate responsibly. And you, of course, must be of legal drinking age to imbibe. Do not drink unless you're of legal drinking age. The rules are simple. Do not do it otherwise. That's the Samson pull-up tray Raptors Republic standard. No underage drinking. If you are of age, you can find Coors and wanting to drink. If you don't want to, don't. You can find Coors Light near you. Visit CoorsLightShop.ca. Okay, everybody. Is that like, have we found it? Is that a podcast? It might be. It might be a podcast. I don't know. I'm excited for what the Raptors playoff series looks like. I'll answer one more thing. Random question. Other than Raptors, Pacers, which team do you think you've seen most of this season? Probably Boston. I think Boston, probably. I've watched quite a few of their games. I loved the Chris Paul, James Harden, Houston Rockets. I've watched a lot of San Antonio. I love teams that isolate. I love teams that isolate a lot. And the Celtics, they are just handing the ball off to their guys, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons when he was there, but most of all, Jaylen Brown. And they just say, we have great ball handlers who can shoot off the bounce. Just boogie woogie. Like, Joe Mazzulla is a great coach. And anytime I've talked to Joe, like, yeah, he's an intense guy. It's a little unnerving. He doesn't blink. He just looks you dead in the face like, but he's a great coach. He's a great coach. But having guys who are that good, improving and finding their way to efficient basketball, I mean, it makes the job pretty easy. There's a reason why it was about the Raptors who were like, you know what? You guys will figure it out. Come up with your own game plan, which is not that unique, by the way. It's not that unique. This happens around the league. Although, I guess that's like information flows one way and you say one thing and then it's a meme. So now the Raptors are the team that got game planned for by the players. It's like, yeah, this happens all the time. All the time. And also, is it better? Like, would you trust Scotty, for example? Scotty Barnes, a guy who consistently turns off the water on other teams' opening scripted plays because he knows exactly what they're running, and he defends it perfectly and takes away the first and second option. Would you rather have him game plan or like an end of bench coach who's like, today's my game? It's like, yeah, players, if they have the time and the coaching staff says, like, we want you to game plan, they're very capable because not only do they understand basketball, but they understand how they play it. So, like, yeah, we're going to lean into this. It's the coach's job to take what the players know and understand on the court and enhance it. But players are capable of doing it too. I mean, there's a reason why some players, they just get out on the court and they start orchestrating. That's game planning on the court. And Scotty does that defensively for what it's worth. So does CMB. I mean, they're really great. IQ also has a pretty good knack for recognizing what the other team is running. It's an underrated aspect of his defense, which finally, I think he's having an above average defensive year. So good for Emmanuel quickly. Zero Cosmo says, preseason take you regret the most. The preseason take, I mean, thinking Scotty would shoot like between 34 and 36% from three. He's way far off. Thinking Grady, like this would be a year where he scored like maybe between 10, 12 points off the bench and finally was efficient. Way off. It's not been there. Grady's rim finishing has been there, which is what I thought would happen, but the jump shot fell off, fell way away. A prediction you nailed? I don't know, man. I get a lot of things right, but I get a lot of things wrong too. That's being an analysis guy and talking about a team multiple times a week is you're looking for things to talk about. Cosmo says, but Grady was a reasonable take given the year. We don't have to shoot me bail, man. Like, it's wrong. It's wrong. I was wrong. Will says 46 wins by Trey is looking good. Was it 46? He says it's 47 now, but maybe it was 46. I never gave my prediction on our podcast, I don't think, but I did give it with Dan Favale. I think I said 43 or 44. But yeah, I'm excited for the game against the Detroit Pistons. We still have to sort out if we can get credentials, but myself, Trey, and S are going to try and go to Detroit for March 31st, but we aren't gonna go if Trey can't get a credential and be in the building. So remains to be seen. Gilly says Detroit Pistons play like us, but better. You know, that's there's definitely some similarities there. I agree. The big difference is obviously just pick and roll volume and who runs those pick and rolls. Cade Cunningham. I mean, hey, we can say that. I might get pummeled again because I did, but how much better Cade is this year compared to last year, I think he's way, way better. And I was just like teasing, we were doing a bit of basketball philosophy, and I was like, well, given like Scotty, the amount that he can give you offensively and where Cade was last year, I was like, man, I could see Scotty being the best player in this draft class. Cade, this step he took, it means Scotty, he's not close right now. And egg on my face. I mean, people called me nuts at the time, but I feel pretty good about like the logic of it. Of course, it was silly. Like Cade isn't going to be stagnant either, but I thought that the idea of who Scotty was as a player it had gone away. Like people had been like, this guy sucks, he'll never be an all-star. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure he's going to make an all-star game. He'll probably make an all-NBA team on this contract. And at that time, after Scotty's fourth year, not popular. You could argue Scotty's better than Evan Mobley this year. You can argue he's better than Alperen Şengün. You can argue like all this kind of stuff, which was not the conversation coming in. But Cade is having an awesome year. The box score numbers don't necessarily say so, but the Pistons' dominance definitely does. And a lot of the catch-alls really like this year much better for Cade. So Cade, I mean, credit to him. But that's probably my biggest egg on my face. And like sometimes when you go against the grain, you get dunked on. And that me saying that got clipped and put on Twitter, and then everyone's calling me a dumbass, which happens sometimes. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get called a dumbass. You just got to make your peace with it. To everybody listening, make sure to like the video before you get out of here. It helps out the podcast, myself, Trey, S, everyone at Raptors Republic. And, Terrence Davis says smoking on a Cade pack tomorrow. I hope so, man. That would be going back to back Phoenix and Detroit. That would be big. That'd be a big one. Yeah, that's where I'll leave it. Okay, like the podcast if you want to. I appreciate it. Comment afterwards if you liked it. I don't know. Whatever you guys want it to be. Thanks for tuning in with me on this fine afternoon. I appreciate you all. Whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.